Imagine you are sitting in your home office late at night. The only sound is the gentle hum of your computer fan. You're finishing up some work when suddenly, the mouse cursor begins to move on its own. It's slow at first, almost like a ghost is nudging it. Then your CD tray slides open with a mechanical groan. You try to restart, but a message pops up on the screen, mockingly telling you that your files are no longer yours. This isn't just a glitch or a hardware failure. You have just become the victim of a digital predator. Most people think of computer viruses as simple annoyances that slow down your PC or show you a few pop-up ads. But the reality is far more bone-chilling. Over the decades, hackers and state actors have developed code so sophisticated and invasive that it can leap from the digital world into the physical one, destroying industrial machinery, holding entire hospital systems for ransom, and even watching you through your own webcam without the indicator light ever turning on. We are going to dive deep into the most disturbing computer viruses ever written, from the psychological warfare of early pranks to the terrifying efficiency of modern cyber weapons. We will explore how code can become a weapon of mass disruption, and why your digital security is the only thing standing between you and a total system collapse. Let's start with a virus that holds a legendary, almost mythical status in the history of cybersecurity. The I Love You worm. It hit in the year 2000, a time when the internet was still a place of relative innocence. Millions of people opened their email inboxes to find a message with the subject line, I love you, and an attachment titled, love-letter-4-u.txt.vbs. Because Windows, by default, hid the second file extension, everyone thought it was just a harmless text file. When they clicked it, the worm didn't just delete files, it went on a rampage. It overwrote random files, photos, music, documents, with copies of itself, effectively erasing people's digital lives. But the truly disturbing part was its social engineering. It used the user's Outlook address book to send itself to everyone they knew. In a matter of hours, it had infected 10% of all internet-connected computers on Earth. It wasn't just about the data loss. It was about the betrayal of trust. Your friends and family were the ones unknowingly delivering the payload that would ruin your computer. It caused an estimated $10 billion in damage and forced the Pentagon and the CIA to shut down their mail servers. It proved that the greatest vulnerability in any computer system isn't the hardware or the software. It's the humans sitting in the chair. But if I Love You was a global tantrum, Stuxnet was a precision sniper. Discovered in 2010, Stuxnet is widely considered the world's first true cyberweapon, and it is arguably the most disturbing piece of code ever calculated. Most viruses want to steal your credit card or use your PC to send spam. Stuxnet had a much darker goal. It was designed to target a very specific type of industrial controller made by Siemens, used in nuclear enrichment centrifuges. It was so advanced that it used 4 zero-day vulnerabilities, flaws in Windows that were unknown even to Microsoft. The virus would infect a computer via a USB drive, jump through the network, and wait until it found the exact industrial hardware it was looking for. Once inside, it didn't just crash the system. That would be too obvious. Instead, it secretly took control of the centrifuges, making them spin at erratic speeds until they physically shattered from the stress. All the while, the operator's monitors showed that everything was perfectly normal. It was a digital ghost that could reach out and break physical steel. This changed the world forever. It meant that a few lines of code could now do the work of a stealth bomber, and no physical air gap or concrete wall was truly safe anymore. Moving into the realm of psychological horror, we have to talk about the "You Are an Idiot" virus. On the surface, it sounds like a childish joke, but the way it functioned was designed to cause genuine panic and sensory overload. When a user visited an infected website or ran the file, their screen would suddenly be flooded with hundreds of floating windows, each flashing, "You are an idiot," in bright, contrasting colors, accompanied by a repetitive, high-pitched jingle. If you tried to close a window, it would spawn 3 more in its place. If you tried to use the task manager to kill the process, it would simply replicate faster. The only way out was a hard reset of the computer, which back in the early 2000s could often lead to data corruption. It was a digital jump scare that overwhelmed the user's senses and made them feel completely powerless over their own machine. It wasn't about stealing data. It was about total chaos and humiliation. Now let's look at the financial nightmare of modern ransomware, specifically WannaCry. In May 2017, the world woke up to a crisis. A piece of malware was spreading through a vulnerability in Windows called Eternal Blue, which had allegedly been developed by the NSA and subsequently leaked by a hacker group. WannaCry was disturbing because of its speed and its choice of targets. It didn't care who you were. It hit banks, telecommunications companies, and most tragically, the National Health Service in the UK. Doctors and nurses found their screens locked, with a red window demanding $300 in Bitcoin to get their patient records back. Surgeries were cancelled, ambulances were diverted, and lives were literally put at risk because hospital staff couldn't access records or imaging results. This was a turning point where computer viruses stopped being about money or data and started being about life or death. The fact that a piece of software could paralyze a nation's healthcare system proved that our digital infrastructure is a house of cards. If you're interested in the darker side of technical engineering, you must consider the CIH or Chernobyl virus from the late 90s. This virus was uniquely disturbing because it didn't just target your files, it targeted your hardware. Most viruses live in the operating system or the hard drive, which can be wiped and reinstalled. Chernobyl was different. It attempted to overwrite the BIOS, the most fundamental piece of software stored on a chip on your motherboard. If successful, the computer wouldn't even be able to wake up to look for an operating system. It turned the entire PC into a brick, a useless hunk of plastic and metal. It was timed to trigger on April 26, the anniversary of the Chernobyl disaster, creating a wave of hardware destruction across Asia and Europe. It was one of the first times people realized that a virus could inflict permanent, unrecoverable physical damage on a computer's most basic components. For those curious about the stealth aspect of malware, we have to mention Pegasus. Developed by a private company called NSO Group, Pegasus is perhaps the most invasive spyware ever created. It is designed to infect iPhones and Android devices through zero-click exploits. This means you don't even have to click a link or open an attachment. A specially crafted message or a missed WhatsApp call can give the attacker full access to your phone. Pegasus can read your encrypted messages, listen to your calls, track your location, and, most disturbingly, silently turn on your camera and microphone to record you in your most private moments. It is the ultimate digital peeping Tom used by governments around the world to track journalists, activists, and political rivals. It removes the concept of privacy entirely, turning the device you carry in your pocket into a 24-hour surveillance tool that feeds your life back to an unknown spectator. Let's talk about the MyDoom worm. At its peak in 2004, it was responsible for 1 out of every 12 emails being sent globally. MyDoom was disturbing because of its sheer volume and its efficiency in creating zombie networks, or botnets. It turns infected computers into puppets that can be used to launch massive distributed denial-of-service DDoS attacks. It once crippled the website of the SCO Group and even targeted Google, slowing down the entire global internet. When your computer is part of a botnet, it's living a double life. You might be typing a school essay while your computer is secretly helping a hacker group take down a government website or a major bank. You are unknowingly participating in an international cyber war from your living room. A particularly eerie example from the early days of computing is the Elk cloner virus. Written by a 15-year-old in 1982, it was the first large-scale virus to spread in the wild. It targeted Apple II computers via floppy disks. Every 50th time a disk was booted, the computer would display a short poem. It will get on all your disks. It will infiltrate your chips. Yes, it's cloner. It will stick to you like glue. It will modify RAM too. Send in the cloner. At the time, this was terrifying because no one knew what a virus was. People thought their machines were possessed. It laid the groundwork for everything that followed, showing that code could reproduce and infect other machines without the user ever knowing until it was too late. Now consider the Petya and NotPetya attacks. While they looked like ransomware, researchers later discovered that NotPetya was actually a wiper disguised as ransomware. Its true purpose wasn't to collect money, but to cause absolute destruction. It hit Ukraine particularly hard, shutting down radiation monitoring at the Chernobyl site, freezing backs, and even stopping the metro system. It then spread globally, hitting the shipping giant Maersk and causing $10 billion in damage. Because it was a wiper, even if you paid the ransom, your data was gone forever. The keys to decrypt the files didn't even exist. This is the digital equivalent of scorched earth warfare. It showed that state-backed attackers are willing to cause massive collateral damage across the globe to hit a single political target. For the computer enthusiasts listening, the Heartbleed bug. While technically a vulnerability and not a virus, opened the door for some of the most disturbing data thefts in history. It was a flaw in the OpenSSL library that allowed attackers to read the memory of a server. This meant they could steal the private keys used to encrypt traffic on the internet. For 2 years, the privacy of millions of people was an illusion. Attackers could sit in the middle of a connection and see your passwords, credit card numbers, and private messages in plain text. It was a silent leak that affected 2/3 of the entire internet. It was disturbing because it proved that even the gold standard of security could have a deep, hidden flaw that remains undetected for years. Then there is the Melissa virus. Created in 1999, it was one of the first to use email as a primary vector. It was hidden in a Word document titled list.doc that promised access to adult websites. When opened, it sent itself to the top 50 contacts in the user's address book. It spread so fast that it overwhelmed the email servers of giant corporations like Intel and Microsoft. The creator was eventually tracked down by his electronic fingerprint, but the damage was done. It taught hackers that humans are incredibly easy to manipulate. If you promise someone something they want or something they fear, they will click almost anything. This is the foundation of modern phishing attacks. Let's look at the dark hotel spyware. This is a highly targeted campaign that has been active for over a decade. It targets high-level executives, government officials, and military leaders when they stay at luxury hotels. The attackers compromise the hotel's Wi-Fi network and wait for their specific target to check in. When the victim connects to the free guest Wi-Fi, they are prompted to download a legitimate-looking update for software like Adobe Flash or Google Chrome. Instead, they get a sophisticated backdoor that allows the attackers to steal their most sensitive corporate secrets. It is disturbing because it shows that even in a high-security environment like a luxury hotel, your digital life is vulnerable to a spear phishing attack that is custom-tailored just for you. Why do hackers create these things? For some, it is about the money. Ransomware is a multi-billion-dollar industry with customer support centers and referral programs. It is a dark mirror of the legitimate tech economy. For others, it is about power and politics. State-sponsored groups use malware to tilt the scales of global influence. But for a certain type of hacker, it is about the lulz, or the intellectual challenge. They want to see if they can break the unbreakable system. These black hat hackers see the internet as a playground, and your computer is just another toy to be dismantled. This lack of empathy is what makes the most disturbing viruses so chilling. To the person on the other end, your lost photos, your ruined business, or your compromised privacy is just a line of code or a successful exploit. The Morris worm provides a classic lesson in unintended consequences. In 1988, a graduate student at Cornell wanted to measure the size of the internet. He wrote a program that would crawl from machine to machine. However, a bug in his code made the worm replicate much faster than intended. It ended up infecting thousands of Unix systems and bringing the nascent internet to its knees. Even though the creator didn't mean to cause damage, the worm acted like a biological plague, clogging the arteries of the network. It led to the creation of the first Computer Emergency Response Team, CRT, and showed the world that even a benign experiment can become a digital catastrophe if handled incorrectly. Consider the brain boot sector virus from 1986. It was created by two brothers in Pakistan who ran a computer store. They wanted to see how far their software would spread and to track down people who were pirating their work. It would replace the boot sector of a floppy disk with a copy of itself and change the volume label to C Brain. Most disturbingly, they included their actual names, address, and phone number in the code. They didn't think it would leave their country, but a year later, it had spread to the US, the UK, and beyond. It was the first time an analog business problem was solved with a digital virus that escaped its borders. It was a warning shot for the global software industry. A more modern and truly terrifying threat is the Mirai botnet. Mirai doesn't target PCs or Macs. It targets the Internet of Things, smart cameras, routers, and DVRs. Because these devices often have weak default passwords, Mirai can take over hundreds of thousands of them in minutes. In 2016, Mirai was used to launch a DDoS attack on Dyn, a company that provides the phone book for the internet, DNS. This caused major websites like Netflix, Twitter, and Reddit to go offline across the US East Coast. It was disturbing because it proved that your smart light bulb or your smart fridge could be an unwitting soldier in a cyber attack that brings down the most important websites on the planet. Our desire for convenience has created a massive, insecure army of devices just waiting for a commander. In 2026 and beyond, the biggest threat is AI-powered malware. Imagine a virus that can think. Instead of a static piece of code, it is an adaptive algorithm that can learn from your security software. If it gets blocked, it rewrites its own code to bypass the filter. It can use deepfake technology to mimic your voice or your face in a video call, to trick your coworkers into giving it access to the corporate network. It can analyze your social media history to write a phishing email that is so personalized it is impossible to distinguish from a real message. This is the arms race of the future. We are building AI to protect us, but the attackers are building AI to hunt us. The Anna Kournikova virus of 2001 is another example of social engineering. A 20-year-old student used a virus creation kit to make a worm that promised a photo of the famous tennis star. It spread through Outlook just like the I love you worm. Even though the creator apologized and said he didn't mean any harm, it showed how easily a script kiddie, someone with little technical skill but a ready-made tool, could cause global disruption. It democratized the ability to cause chaos, making the internet a minefield where anyone, even a bored teenager, could be a threat. We must also mention the Zeus or Zbot Trojan. This is a toolkit specifically designed to steal banking information. It uses man-in-the-browser attacks to record your keystrokes and capture your login credentials while you are on your bank's website. It can even bypass two-factor authentication by tricking the user into installing a security app on their phone that actually intercepts their SMS codes. Zeus has been used to steal hundreds of millions of dollars from thousands of victims. It turns the very place where you manage your wealth into a trap. The safest way to handle money is often the place where you are most vulnerable. The Code Red Worm in 2001 was a masterclass in efficiency. It targeted Microsoft IIS web servers and lived entirely in the computer's memory. It never touched the hard drive. This made it fileless and very hard to detect. It was programmed to launch a DDoS attack on the White House website. It was an early example of hacktivism, or state-sponsored messaging, as it left a defaced message on websites it infected, hacked by Chinese. Whether it was actually from China remains a debate, but it showed that the web wasn't just a place for commerce. It was a place for political theater and digital propaganda. When we look at the financial side of computer knowledge and cybersecurity, the market for cybersecurity insurance is booming. Companies are spending billions to protect themselves against the NotPetya and WannaCries of the future. But the reality is that insurance only pays for the cleanup. It doesn't stop the damage from happening. Data is like water. Once it's out, you can't put it back in the bucket. This is why zero-trust architecture is becoming the standard. You trust no one and no device, even inside your own network. Everything must be verified every time. It's a paranoid way to run a business, but in a world where Pegasus can hide in your pocket, it is the only way to survive. Is there any hope? Can we ever be safe? The truth is that as long as we use computers, we will have viruses. Complexity is the friend of the attacker. The more code we have, the more flaws there are. The more devices we connect, the more attack surface we create. But we can be resilient. This means having disconnected backups of your most important data. It means using a dedicated password manager and enabling hardware-based multi-factor authentication. It means being skeptical of every link, every attachment, and every update prompt. Digital hygiene is a boring chore, but it is the only thing that keeps you from becoming a statistic. The psychological impact of a severe virus infection can be devastating. For a small business owner, losing all their accounting records can mean the end of their livelihood. For a photographer, losing 10 years of photos can mean the loss of their creative soul. The most disturbing viruses don't just break the computer. They break the user's trust in the digital world. They make you feel violated and vulnerable in your own home. This digital trauma is real, and it is something our society is still learning how to handle. As we move toward an era of quantum computing, the stakes will rise again. A quantum computer could theoretically crack almost all current encryption in seconds. If a state actor develops a quantum virus, the entire digital world as we know it would become an open book. Every bank account, every secret message, and every government database would be exposed. We are currently in a race to develop post-quantum cryptography before the first powerful quantum computers come online. It is a race against time, managed by humans you will never meet, using math you will never see. In the end, the most disturbing thing about computer viruses is their invisible nature. You can't see them, you can't smell them, and you often don't know you're infected until the damage is done. They are the silent predators of the 21st century. From the pranks of the 80s to the cyber weapons of today, they have evolved alongside our technology. They are a reflection of our ingenuity and our malice. They remind us that the internet is not just a library of information or a marketplace for goods. It is a frontier, and like every frontier, it is full of dangers that we are only beginning to understand. So, the next time you see a suspicious email or a weird update prompt, think of I love you, Stuxnet, and wanna cry. Think of the millions of people who clicked and lost everything. The humming fan of your computer is a sign of life, but it is also a reminder that there is a world of code out there that doesn't care about your privacy, your money, or your safety. Stay vigilant, keep your software updated, and never take your digital security for granted. The ghost in the machine is real, and it is always looking for a way in. The story of computer viruses is the story of humanity's dark side manifested in logic. It is a world of shadows, secrets, and scripts. By understanding the history and the mechanics of these digital horrors, we can better protect our future. The internet is a magnificent tool, but it is also a gateway that works both ways. Make sure you're the one who holds the keys. Because in the world of high-level computing, the most disturbing thing isn't the virus itself. It's the realization of how much we have to lose. Stay curious, stay informed, and always keep a backup. Your digital life depends on it.